Hi everyone, I decided to do my final project on the long-term and short-term dimension, and I wanted to relate it to the holidays, since the holidays are here, the Burr months, and I wanted to also connect it with food. So I first stopped and looked at the definition of long-term versus short-term, and my definition that I ended up coming up with or collaborating with the Google definitions was long-term and short-term relates to where we put our focus. Are we looking further into the future, or are we kind of just focused on the now? Both are great. Looking further into the future means you're probably a lot better at saving money, versus right now you're like, well, I need to do this now. I'm living in the now, which is a good thing. Occasionally you probably are not as stressed out as us long-term people, but that's fine. Well, basically with the holidays, I ended up looking at what is a common holiday feast. And I chose to do holiday feasts, not just because we're in the Burr months and we're having a lot of these things, but my family actually for Christmas, we pick a country out of a hat and we celebrate, or not celebrate, but we pick some of the foods from that country that they use for Christmas. And I always remember how interesting some of them are. So I was like, yeah, I'll do this. I feel like I'm pretty familiar with it. And one of the big things that I really noticed whenever I was doing more research is how turkey is not very common as a meal for a holiday in any countries. It's actually a very rich meat in a lot of them, which surprised me because I don't really like turkey. I'd rather have pork, but in these other countries, they don't do that very often. A lot of the other countries I'm referring to, the ones that do use turkey, the Bahamas and England were the two that I actually figured out do typically do a turkey on holidays. England also does a roast beef as the prime meat for the holiday, which I thought was kind of cool too. But the other countries, just to name a few that I looked at, France and Italy, they do a lot of seafood, or just water foods, I guess, like your fish, your salmon, your shrimp, things like that. And then the other thing that Italy does is they will have a tortellini and chicken broth, which I thought was actually kind of nice because personally I enjoy that. And then the other food, main meat for a lot, and I mean a lot of these countries, is chicken, specifically fried chicken. And one country that I've actually been to is Malaysia, and whenever I went there, this was probably 3 years ago, I made note of the fact that they have Kentucky Fried Chickens everywhere. And that was really ironic to me because personally I don't like or eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. And yes, I'm talking about the chain food restaurant, not just style of fried chicken. No, the restaurant. So I did a little more digging into that whenever I was making my project. But basically I really wanted to turn and look at the long term and the short term of this. Long-term countries, this would be a lot of your Japan, your Asian ethnicities, some European, just your more traditional countries. Whenever we look at a lot of these dimensions, we see there's highs and lows, and typically America scores lower, Japan scores higher. So I always look at it kind of we're basically the polar opposites of them, even though I'm sure we're not really the polar opposites of them, but that's the best way that I could put it into words for myself. And I decided to compare America's traditional feast with Japan's. Specifically, America, we do turkey, ham, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, green beans, this huge spread. And Japan does a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken for their Christmas. So I thought that was really interesting. I can't wait for y'all to watch my PowerPoint, and hopefully you learn a lot about the holidays in other countries and how it applies to short and long term like I got to. Thanks.